wokeness, or whatever it is we call it, is taking us back. We need to stop this.
Now, unfortunately, I think we live in an age where, information, places how people consume information has changed. People no longer sit down to listen to a 30-minute or 1 hour news production.
Nope.
Those things are still there, but people don't.
Encountering maybe your political, your strategy on how to attack or whatever, that is going to be a problem.
Yes.
And that's why I'm saying messaging at some point will have to supersede, and especially because it's politics. Let us just agree, it's politics. And as you are approaching the midterms, at some point you have to say, you know what, kaende. Like in soccer sometimes, unajua kitu, unasemanga, I'm not, ali akinipita, napita na yeye. Wacha tafadhali nikule red, but I give my team a chance to either defend ama to get back or to prevent a score. That is fine. Lakini wacha tu, because it's injury. It's 80th minute. So before, so you have once you finish your 5-year term, or as you're approaching your career, once you have secured the numbers, this is just but for a certain point in time where your messaging has to be specific, it has to be on point, and then after that you can now work on other issues, right, pertaining to career. So you tell your guys, listen, I know right now this, that, the other, but what we need to do is focus on this, because these guys wanatuchapa hapa, but we can counter them, and this, to counter them, this is a strategy. And once you counter that, you're like, this is just a short career. Once the careers happen, you have convinced enough, you have shifted kidogo the base, or you have shifted enough the numbers to where you have the numbers that you can actually do stuff, then you can actually effect. But in order for you to get those numbers to be able to effect, you have to tell your soldiers, Gade, Leo, today you're like going to be like Japanese soldiers, kamikaze style. Lazima sasa here we have to say, you know what, you have to take one for the team. And that is exactly what the messaging needs to be. Because remember, this is just a short, it's a short site, it's short term until the primaries are, until now midterms. That should be the focus.
You know, one thing I want to take us back on this has been triggered by what Naomi said. On if we look at the statistics on the red states, right, quality of life is poorer in red states. Cost of not cost of doing business, the ROI of business, the sustainability of businesses is poor, especially for small businesses. It's more for those are more for rich people. The life expectancy in those states is lower, and dependence on government aid is higher in those states. So basically what I'm saying is this: those guys don't even care about themselves. They've been so brainwashed to a point whereby they just know that these Democrats are bringing people who are going to affect ABC. Like, for them, they will take your guns. People will come and take your jobs and your lives, and you're free. What do they tell them? They write this narrative that there's the black people who depend on government dependence. But if you look at it, the majority of people who depend on government dependence is actually white people. It's on black people. It's or immigrants. It's them. Most immigrants pay more taxes than the demographic of these people who are here, because most immigrants have to come here, get a job, do a job, like sustain yourself. You have to keep yourself like working. So they have a way on how, as OneMic said, the messaging has been drummed into them to follow a certain specific. So if Democrats, again, as I said, we change the messaging and stuff, we want gun control. Let's stop talking about taking away guns. That will never. We all know that will never happen. Let's police these guns. Let's police all these guns. Education. Fine. We want to teach about slavery, right? All these guys beat us in elections because what were they calling Italy?
Ilikuwa
The one they
inaitwa the something theory, like
white race theory.
what was it called again? Yeah,
White race theory.
yeah, it
something
was
that,
some
white
like, yeah, there was a theory that they
Yeah.
were teaching, yeah, and those things
Yeah.
resonate, like during
so-
during electoral cycles.
Like the CRT, CRT Upper Virginia.
Critical theory.
Critical race theory.
Yeah,
critical race theory.
This the one Upper
Right?
Virginia.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
real
so
Virginia iko hapa. This one.
And
People-
guess what?
yeah.
And guess what? They used that while Democrats were campaigning for what? More pay for the teachers, like and more resources into education. Wazungu waligeuza wakasema hata wanaenda kugeuza critical race theory. Wanataka kuwafundisha like the messaging matters. How you message it, how you package it, how you show it matters. You can message it a certain way, then do it a certain way. Obviously, I'm a Republican who's going to write a law where you have to teach the slavery you were helping black people. But they like these people. We are going to teach them that they were nothing but slaves. We're not going to make them look equal to us. And people vote. So it's them, as in, honestly, I'm more disappointed with the Democratic Party and Democratic voters than anything else, because wokeness, or whatever it is we call it, is taking us back. We need to stop this.
Now, unfortunately, I think we live in an age where, like information, places, how people consume information has changed. People no longer sit down to listen to a 30-minute or 1-hour news production.
Nope.
Those things are still there, but people don't. People are more likely to listen to a short video clip. People are more likely to be responsive to
5 minutes.
to a screenshot. People are more responsive to these small bits and bytes of information.
Insta.
And
The Insta stuff.
And I feel that has worked against the majority, because a lot of these disappointments that Democrats, like that we constantly bring up, a lot of them are being engineered within social media. You see, for example, like the idea of the welfare queen. So the idea of the black welfare queen, it actually started time Ronald Reagan, like in the 80s. That's when the black welfare queen, the welfare queen was crowned, and it was assumed that black people are the ones who are on welfare most of the time. And guess what? You'll hear a lot of black African people also quoting that. Utasikia, blacks, they are lazy, kazi yao ni kuchukua tu hizi ma welfare na nini, when the real truth is that it's mostly white people who depend on that welfare system. But then there are these narratives that are pushed, and with the Cambridge Analyticas and all these other online players, they've been pushing certain narratives, like even going into democratic spaces and masquerading as Democrats, and even creating pages and creating conversations, like around that. Now, remember when we had COVID, and the feds had to, do stimulus, and they had to do stuff real quick, so that unemployment would not shoot up. So they're successful in doing that. But as a result, with those variables, inflation at a certain point started heating up. Now, Republicans have very cleverly, constructed this narrative whereby now Democrats are now blaming, they're now blaming their party, for causing inflation. And here's the thing, and this is now when I wear my economics hat. Here's the thing, had that stimulus not happened, I'm telling you, because right after COVID started, unemployment shot up at some point to I think 10 or 11%, and it was in a very short period of time. So
The states couldn't handle it.
Had that stimulus not been thrown, because there are people who are arguing that it should have been targeted, blah blah blah, but had that not just been thrown into the economy, that unemployment would have shot from 11% to 15% to 22% to 30%, and we would now have been back to the the stock market crisis that was there in 1920. Because remember,
Yeah,
the market had also lost
collapsed.
like 30% within a very short period of time.
Stimulus happened under who? The first stimulus, it happened under who?
It happened under Obama.
No.
You're talking about
COVID. We're talking about COVID.
Or the COVID stimulus. Yeah, the first COVID stimulus.
How many happened under
The first COVID
before
stimulus.
Biden?
The first COVID stimulus happened under Trump.
Okay.
Yeah,
The first two.
The first
two.
Because remember,
Yes.
there was a very short period between the start of COVID
Yes.
and 2020 elections.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so-
And then when Biden came in,
Yes.
the Fed chair, he kept the same Fed chair, and they continued.
Yes.
Like with that particular program. At that point, like unemployment had kind of been controlled. But what point am I trying to get at here? The issue with Democrats is that we pick up, like our worst and amplify it. And then
Messaging.
Republicans, on the other hand, I'm talking about voters. Voters are not responsible for messaging. They're recipients of messaging. But I'm just talking about voters. But Republican voters, they will amplify their best. So it will look like these guys are doing very great things when these guys are very useless. When actually the leadership
very
is
true.
actually responding. The leadership is responding to what the voters are saying. They're responding to what the people are telling them on the ground. Some of these conflicts that are happening within the party, they're a result of the different constituencies that you have, for Democrats. So you can have a Democrat here, let's say like in Beltsville or Silver Spring, Maryland, and then not drive too far. You might find, like a small Democratic pocket in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which is a rural part of Pennsylvania. And that's a whole different ballgame. If you take this same message that you're giving people in Silver Spring and just drive 2 hours away and give these people the same message, guess what's happening? You're losing your seat. You're losing your seat. And that's the reason why this blanket messaging that sometimes is very effective with the Republicans is very tricky.